So coming from CNBC, Huawei plans new smartphone chips this fall as rivalry with NVIDIA and Apple heats up. Analysts questioned whether the technology matched true 1.4 nanometer manufacturing breakthroughs. Oh, Chinaman, you may be able to produce chips at a lower cost and a better quality than ours, but are they really 1.4 nanometer? I think not. So anyways, America just keeps on winning. America keeps winning. Trump was right. If this is winning, by golly, I'm exhausted of winning. So anyways, Huawei is now coming out with a new chip, and basically they are on a process that will basically get them the results of a 1.4 nanometer design. And so basically they're doing this by essentially redesigning the architecture. So one of the things I've been talking about for a long time with this whole US versus China AI war is one of the big concerns that I have is that when we refuse to allow China to use the legacy architecture that's been built up over the past 5 decades, one of the problems that we might run into is they actually start building crap based off of 2020 architecture versus 1970s architecture. And I've talked about how, once you go legacy, you just do not go back. The metaphor that I use, the story that I use a lot for this is basically TCP/IP version 4. So this is the networking protocol that in 2026 is still the primary protocol that we're using. And to be clear, back in 2000, when I was studying for my MCSE for NT 4.0, an operating system that is probably older than many of my viewers, I still remember my MCSE instructor looking at us, and we had to actually pass a test on IP version 4, and he said, look, I'm sorry about this. I actually have to apologize. Your new students, essentially this is an obsolete protocol. It is going to be replaced by IPv6 in the next couple of years, but it's one of those things in the technology world. IPv6 is what we should be deploying, but we're still in the IPv4 world, so you have to learn this technology that's basically obsolete as you're studying for the test. But that's just how the world of technology goes sometimes. And now it's 2026, and by golly, you're still using IPv4. Why? Because once you go legacy, you just don't go back. And so there are so many things in the technology world where there would be better ways to build systems. There would be better ways to architect systems if we started from square one and basically built based off of what we understand now. But we have all of this luggage, all of this baggage for everything that we've created before. And so we just have to basically keep building on top of that. And so that's one of the reasons that, Western technology in many ways is kind of crappy. Like we know how to do better. We can do better. But you got legacy, and you just got to keep building on legacy. And so one of the concerns that I've had with this whole forcing China to break from our legacy architecture is what happens if they start designing for the 2020s world? What if their square one, what if their base, their foundation for the technology starts in the 2020s? So the base of Western technology starts in 1970. You have to deal with all the baggage that comes along from 1970. But in the Chinese architecture, you just have to deal with the baggage that comes from 2020. When you think about where we're going, which one of those probably sounds like a better architecture for you? And so anyways, that's what it looks like right now with Huawei, is that they're learning different ways to build processors. Since they are forced to start from square one, they can start looking at building processors in different ways. One of the things I think about this is back in the Pentium 4 era. So Intel, back when Intel was Intel, When Intel was Intel and Yahoo was Yahoo, back when great technology companies were still great. Anyways, back during the P4 era, we thought we'd have 10 gigahertz processors by now, right? Because we had gone from 1 gigahertz processors to 2 gigahertz processors to 3 gigahertz processors. So back then, you had one processor core. Basically, the processor was the processor. If you wanted multiple processors in your server, you would have sockets. So each socket allowed you to slot in its own CPU, and that CPU was one core. It was just one CPU. And so the thought was, okay, we're going to go from 1 gigahertz to 2 gigahertz to 3 gigahertz to 4 to 5 to 10 to 20 gigahertz or whatever else. The problem that they ran into is once you get above 3 gigahertz, you just start creating so much heat. Basically, you're creating more heat than anything else, and it becomes a wee bit of a disaster. And so it was after that era, that is where we started getting the multi-cores in the single processors, where you started hearing about dual core, quad core. Now you might have like 32 cores in a processor, because what they realized is if you try to have one core, basically one processor running at 3, 4, 5 gigahertz, again, you were just boiling water at that point. So it was better, instead of having one processor run at 5 gigahertz, you could have 6 processors, 6 cores running at 1 gigahertz each. And that's where you start getting hyper-threading, basically being able to run multi-parallel tasks and that type of thing. And the idea was that actually gives you better performance and better output. And that's the thing to be thinking about when we start talking about architecting processors, is that there are different ways to create these processors, and you create the processors based off of the problems that you run into at the time, right? So for many years, basically we got faster and faster processors until we just hit a max on the gigahertz, and then we started getting multi-core processors, so on and so forth. And so basically what it looks like what Huawei is doing now is, since they can't get their hands on the American processors, the Western processors, they're going back to the drawing board to redesign how processors should be created. And it looks like they have some good ideas. Spoiler, it looks like they might have some good ideas here. So Chinese tech giant Huawei on Monday touted a new approach to developing advanced semiconductors despite US sanctions, as NVIDIA struggles to sell its high-end chips in China. Huawei said it developed a new engineering approach called logic folding to manufacture its Kirin smartphone chips this fall. And this is what I find interesting, and I really think this is going to be the thing to take a look at over the next decade. Looking at fundamental, get away from the chips themselves and the hardware themselves and all that. Look at how they're fundamentally designing things. How will the Western world design things, and how will China design things? And who will have basically the better design principles? Huawei said that by 2031, its new chip technology could deliver capabilities equivalent to the 1.4 nanometer process technology, while global chip leader TSMC has begun volume production of 2 nanometer chips. This is the other thing to be thinking about. Is that basically capabilities equivalent to the 1.4 nanometer process technology. This is one of those weird things I've noticed in the technology world, as more and more normies have gotten into like tech commentary. They've started focusing on things that don't actually matter. Like, you notice this in the AI world, you hear about how many gigawatts or terawatts of AI. But here's the funny thing, a gigawatt or a terawatt, that's a measure of power. That's a measure of electricity consumption. That's not actually a measure of token output. So token is the measurement that's used when any of these models, right? A token is used to measure models, and gigawatts or terawatt-watts are used to measure power. But for some reason, what you've started hearing in the commentary community about AI now is about the watts of power. And you're like, but that actually does, like, that literally doesn't mean anything, right? NVIDIA is coming out with processors that are more and more energy efficient. So if you have one GPU that can produce twice as many tokens for half as much power, then again, where does the wattage, where does that even come into, right? It just doesn't. wattage doesn't actually mean that much in the AI world, right? To be clear, like if you're actually building out the data center itself, you need to know how much wattage you need for the data center, whether or not you can actually get a hold of it. But for most people, the wattage doesn't really matter. Like when you look at a computer, right, the desktop computers, and they might have a 400 watt power supply or a 1,000 watt power supply or a 2,000 watt power supply. Like the size of the power supply doesn't really matter. It's like, yeah, man, yeah, I've got a 2,000 watt power supply on my computer. It's like, oh, what do you do with that? It's like, play Fortnite. No, okay, that doesn't. I probably could have saved some money on that computer, to be honest with you. But what I want you to understand is when we start talking about the processor, well, one of the interesting things that's come up is this whole nanometer, right? So basically, this is the size of the chips themselves. Basically, when you produce these chips, right, you used to have like 14 nanometer and 7 nanometer. Now they're getting to 2 nanometer. And the idea, the concept is the smaller you make the chip, the more energy efficient it should be, the faster it should be, that type of thing. Again, that's kind of like the theory goes. In general, the smaller it is, this is more or less the output that you get. But it doesn't really mean that. Really, all of it means is the size. And so what's interesting here is basically Huawei is coming out. And what they're saying is that they'll get the capabilities equivalent of a 1.4 nanometer process. So it might be small, it might be energy efficient, it might get the speed and all that, but it's not a, quote, true 1.4 nanometer process. But again, at the end of the day, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, I don't know, it craps in the water like a duck, and you call it a bear, doesn't matter. That's not a duck, that's a bear. It eats bread. I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, let's see here. Paul Trillo, head of technology, Asia and Americas at DGA Group, was skeptical of Huawei's 1.4 nanometer claim. Quote, a stacked folded design can produce effective density gains, but it does not mean that Huawei has solved the full process, yield, power, thermal, and device performance problems associated with true 1.4 nanometer class manufacturing, he said. Blocked from assessing advanced extreme ultraviolet or EUV lithography machines from Dutch chip equipment maker ASML, Huawei has been forced to pursue alternatives to chip development as it seeks to remain competitive in AI. Let's see here. Quote, however, this parallel semiconductor path is still unproven at scale. This approach can introduce tough thermal constraints and packaging complexities that can hit the manufacturing yields. And so notice this, so people are like, well, it's not true 1.4 nanometer. Well, there can be issues. Well, yeah, I mean, yes, I guess. Let's see. Huawei's effort to deploy the technology in its flagship Mate 90 smartphone series this fall would mark an engineering feat, but scaling it to AI data centers would serve as the, quote, ultimate litmus test for China's creative workaround to Western sanctions. Huawei is also seeking greater academic recognition for its semiconductor research. On Monday, the company described its findings as the law of Tau, or Tau scaling, and claiming to address challenges faced by the semiconductor industry. Huawei said it has designed and mass-produced 381 chips based on the Tau scaling law over the past 6 years. And this is what I find interesting here. The new principle, quote, is more a systems-level optimization doctrine, shorten wires, stack logic, improve memory semantics, and co-design chips, packages, software, and clusters. Huawei's new chip architecture expands the layout from 1 layer to 2, significantly increasing power efficiency. This structure allows transistors to interact with each other at more points. However, she acknowledged that challenges remain as Huawei is only just beginning a decade-long development path for the new technology. And so this is what's interesting here. Again, the whole idea of systems level optimization, shorten things like the wires, stack logic, improve memory semantics, the idea of having the transistors be able to connect to things in multiple different places. This is something that actually might be able to get outsized returns simply by designing things differently, right? This is an important thing to be thinking about when we start thinking about NVIDIA or Intel or any of these companies. One of the important things to understand is that they're not necessarily building the best chips or the best hardware they theoretically could, right? So these companies, especially in the capitalism the capitalist system, what they do is they take up a tremendous amount of money. They take a tremendous amount of money, they put that into research and development, and they go out and they try to figure out how to do something. First, they try to figure out if something can be done. That's the most expensive thing. And then they figure out how to actually do it, and then be able to scale and iterate and replicate, right? It's not good enough to do it once. Literally, you've got to be able to do it millions and millions and millions of times, possibly per day, and so you make sure all of that works. Here's one of the interesting things, right? That costs billions and billions and billions of dollars. So imagine you're the engineer, imagine you're the scientist, and after you've blown billions of dollars for the company figuring out a process. You figure out the process. You figured out how to do something. You figured out how to manufacture it stably, and then you figured out how to scale and all that. But then as you're doing all of this, you realize, oh, again, we probably started from a bad position, right? We started building all of this based off of this particular foundation, right? Now that we've learned all of this stuff, right? The past number of years, we've learned all of this stuff. We're so much smarter than we were before. And so if I was going to design this exact same system now, this is not where I would start from. This is not what I would build up from. But here's the thing. You go to the boss after you've already spent billions of dollars and you say, okay, boss, here is the product, here is the process, here is everything. And it cost us $10 billion to get here. But it's not the best way to do it. If you only give me $5 billion more and another couple of years, I can give you a much better way of doing things. And the boss is going to look at you and be like, so we can start manufacturing this crap next month and start making revenue and profit off of it next month. Or you want $5 billion more to basically give me the exact same output, the exact same solution, but, engineered in a better way. And I have to wait years for that. No, ship it. Ship it. Ship it now. Well, the curious thing is, right, you have China, right? China is not being allowed to use any of this legacy architecture. They're not being allowed to build off of everything that has been created over the past 30 years. So they have to go back to the drawing board. And so the question is if you had to build the technology stack today, would you start from where we started from back in the 1970s or whatever else? And the answer is no. Obviously not. And so that's what's going to be very interesting in the next decade or so. Basically, as the Chinese and the American or the Western tech stack start fundamentally diverging, they start going into different directions. And my big concern is the fundamental problem the Western world is going to have is simply that the foundations of our stack are going to be 50 years old, or the foundations of their stack are going to be 5 years old, and that does not bode well over the long term. So anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about Huawei coming out with their 1.4 nanometer, capable systems? What do you think about it not being true 1.4 nanometer? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos and you want them on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, there's a link in the doobly-doo. Also, if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. With that, see y'all later.